Q Speed Shop here. How you doing? Long time no see. I'm going to bring you up to date on what's going on with the 73 Challenger and what we've been working on. Currently, I'm working on the doors. Went ahead and got the AMD patch panel for the bottom. Try to save as much of the original metal as possible. So this is the original doors. Went ahead and replaced the bottoms. Here's the other one. I've already got the kitty hair applied on here, and I'll end up having to sand that down, but for right now we got it this far, and then we'll go ahead and attach that. I got a bullet hole on this door that I need to weld up. I'm not sure where it came from, but it is a bullet hole. So now that I've gotten the doors kind of somewhat set, I'm going to let that the kitty hair fiberglass sit on the doors for a few days before I sand it off, and I'm going to dress the inside of the welds. But for the inside, since it's going to be enclosed, we're basically just going to clean it up, put some epoxy primer, maybe throw a little bit of enamel paint in on the inside just to keep it from rusting. But that's going to be it, and then we'll go ahead and get to the door skins. In the meantime, I'm going to switch my attention to the hood and the fenders. And you can see I needed to do this before I weld in all of the pieces. So what I did was I installed the hood. I actually Had my wife help me with install the hood. Held the hood up as high as I can. Adjusted the front 2 screws, bolts, and then did it again for the rear, which helps bring that back end down. You push the hood up to bring the back end down. Anyways, adjusted that, put the fenders on. I had to tweak around a little bit to get the adjustment. I wasn't getting a real good gap on it at first, but you know, you can just use a paint stick to kind of see where you want to be at. We have a little bit of a tight spot just up here at the front, and you can notice the difference a little bit. I don't have the hood bumper on there, which would help that, and also with the latch. So I may end up in the end, like, it fits here fine. There's just a tight spot right here, and then you just slide it on up, and you can see there's a nice gap all the way up, a little tight there at the top. So I might be able to grind that off a little bit and adjust that. Same on the other side. So I'm real happy with where we're at the moment. Just run the paint, and that's where you want to be at. A little tight up here at the top, like I said. Might have to grind that down a little bit, you know. And but other than that, I'm super happy. And look at that. They actually start looking like a car again when you got some body pieces on there. I like it. So at this point, still could put the valance on the bottom just to check that. But I wanted to get an idea that we don't have any major issues with the placement of the inner fender wells and the sections that still need to be welded. So at this point, what I'll do is I'll go ahead and either throw some spray paint over top of there so I can see where the bolt holes were, and I'll do that on the hood and the fenders so that I can put them back in the same position when I put it back on. But now that clears me to go ahead and start welding in the pieces that are just sheet metal screwed, because I have a good idea of where we're going to be at. The hinges are fine, so I can leave the hinges where they're at. Just unbolt the hood, get my wife to help me again, unbolt the hood and take that off of there. But now I can go ahead and start tackling this and get this welded in, so that's going to be nice. Take one more look at the door. This is the door. Last night I put on, it's the next day if you didn't know, I put on some of the kitty hair, and I'll let that harden up for a couple days. I'll take this door and hang it over there where the other one is and just let it sit there for now. Here's the 2 door skins. I got one AMD skin and one Dynacorn skin. Difference between the AMD and the Dynacorn is the AMD does not have the top section of the door on it. So I'll have to take that off of the old skin and put it on new skin. Let me see if I get this over here and show you what I'm talking about. This top section up here is going to have to be removed from the old door skin and placed onto the new door skin, because on the AMD it does not come with that. So what I'll do is I'll mark this where it sits so it can sit in the same place, and hopefully it'll go back in the same place. The Dynacorn comes with it, so I won't have to do that with the Dynacorn, and I learned that from Rick's page on Cartridge Classics when he did the door skin. So there's plenty of other videos out there to show you the how-to. I'm not really a big how-to guy. I do some stuff that I find if I can show it to you, but in a lot of this stuff I learned old school, and it's a little different than the newer techniques, and so I'm learning as well as you. So I go back and watch and watch and watch, and stuff that I find that works for me I will share with you. But in the meantime, I'm happy with the situation of where this hood sits, and I'm not going to bother oiling these hinges or anything until after it's painted, because that's just going to put silicone on it. But these back sections, every car I've ever seen, it's the same thing. Got to push down the rear part of the hinges. So I'm not real concerned about this twist. I like where the body line is lining up. So we're good in that situation. Like I said, it's a little tight, and when we put the latch on, that'll also help hold it in a particular place, because yeah, once we get that welded in, we'll get a better idea. But just bolting it on now before I weld this stuff, I wanted to make sure that we were even close. We weren't cattywampus. You know, of course, the measurements said it was square, you know, with the tram gauge and everything, and the measurements across. I took something else from Rick that I hope comes back. Is essentially I just rolled this radiator back like a 1/4 inch versus where it was before, and what that's supposed to do is help tighten up them gaps on the doors when I finally get the doors on, because these things were notorious for having really wide gaps. So I took that from Rick, and we still have a lot of welding to do on here, and I need to get busy on that, I guess. So I wanted to show everybody, and of course, in order to do the welding, I gotta take all this stuff back off, and that's part of this work, you know. So it looks beautiful when it's up there, but it's gonna come on and off probably 2-3 more times, you know, by the time it's done, because that's just the nature of the beast. That's part of the project. It'd be nice if we just could put the pieces on and stay on there, but in order to get it to look right, that's what we have to do. Now, here's something else I can show you. This is an AMD hood. The fenders are Goodmark, and the Goodmark fender here, this one's beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. And I really don't have an issue with the other one either. The body lines and everything look good. It's the finish of the E-coat, and I'm going to end up having to go over here with 80 grit and essentially take it down to bare metal and just epoxy priming this, because I don't like the way it looks. And this is one of those things, like when you get an EDP coated fender or something from somebody, you need to go ahead and take some lacquer thinner and wipe it on there, and if the black stuff comes off in your hand, then chances are it's not a real EDP coat, it's just paint. And then you need to go ahead and strip it anyways and put the epoxy primer on it in order to seal it. I don't have an issue painting and priming on top of it as long as you scuff it up with like a red scratchy pad. I don't have an issue with that. I'll do that. I've done that in the past. When I worked at the body shop, never had a car come back with that issue. But stuff that looks like this, I don't know if you can see that, the finish doesn't even look right, and who knows where this stuff was EDP coated at, you know, Taiwan or wherever it was made at. But yeah, I wouldn't trust that. Yeah, I'm gonna do the lacquer thinner test on this, but it's gonna come stripped down regardless. It's a shame, it's just a little bit more work, but in order to get a good finish, you know, you don't want to paint something and have to go back and repaint it later if you don't have to, because you have to do that enough as it is. Don't think it's not normal, it's a normal process. But anyways, that's where we're at. Still have to touch this, and if you notice how things go, when you start working on these cars, you start working with the intention of doing one thing, like we wanted to do the rocker panel. Well, the rocker panels led to the floor, and then the floor leads to this part, but I have to do the doors in order to make sure that this fits right. So I started on the doors. I got the doors as far as I do. Well, while I'm waiting around, let's go ahead and fit this. I may go ahead and weld this up, and then when I'm done with that, I'm still not ready to finish the doors, and I'll probably start on the roof. But this is the way these projects go. You have to be a little flexible in your procedure, or not procedure, in your routine, in the way you do it, because you have to be flexible, because it could change at any time. But regardless, this is where we're at right now. So I'm going to get my wife out here to help me break this hood down and store it someplace where it doesn't get banged up, probably back in the box. Fenders, I'm going to have to find a home for those, and then get busy cleaning up around this joint and get ready to do some welding on the inside. And I will share that with you. All right, well, this is This has been fun. You know, so thanks for checking in again. It's always great to see you. I hope you're enjoying the build here. You know, I started this out originally just to keep a historical record of the car and the work that's been done on it, but it's been fun showing her. I've gotten a lot of questions and feedback and emails, and it's been fun going along. There was a little bit of burp there, but as far as, you know, family issues, but it happens. But I think the biggest thing I want to teach people is that you can do this. If I can do it, you can do it. And to never get discouraged and give up on your project. You know, sometimes you have to just walk away and then come back later and attack it again. And when you have a good day, then you're ready to rip, roar, and go again. It comes in ebbs and flows like that. So thank you once again for checking in, and we look forward to seeing you again next time. Peace. AMD. Good mark. So we're good to go. So it's a real EDP. It's just a crappy ass coating, that's all. But yeah, if this was actual like paint, it would come off. No. Once again, AMD, nothing. Good mark, nothing. So that's good to know. I'm still gonna scuff this down with 80 because I just don't like the finish, and we want to start with something fresh. You know, maybe I'll try 120 and take it down, see how it looks. Anyways, in any case, all of these outside panels will get sanded down and put epoxy primer on them, because there needs to be that seal between the bodywork, you know, up to the paint. That way nothing gets in it. You know, some people like to put it straight on bare metal. I'm okay with the E-coat, especially once I do this and I know it's real E-coat. E-coat's a great seal if it's applied properly. It's just when you don't trust it on the manufacturer until you test it first with lacquer thinner. And that's the tip I can give you from my experience. And that's not just here, that's in the body shop as well. In the body shop, we would, you know, usually scuff it up with like 80 grit on a DA or red scratch pad and then prime it. But back then we used a zinc based primer, which that's been pretty much replaced. We're talking 80s now. So that's been replaced pretty much with the epoxy primer. Anyways, before my battery dies, I'm going to go ahead and get off here, but I wanted to add that to it. All right, take care.